Hello everybody and welcome to the Star Wars Galaxy YouTube channel. We're back today for another fanfiction. This one, what if Maul stole the Darksaber and used it to unite Mandalore? I think it's going to be a fun one. It goes kind of crazy, so buckle up. And if you do enjoy, please do consider hitting the like button, leaving a comment, did you enjoy it? And what's another fanfiction you'd like to see? And of course, hit the subscribe button. Before we get into this one, a couple caveats. In this one, Sidious is going to be afraid that Order 66 is going to fail. He also is worried that because of this, Anakin's turn will not be as impactful. So as he's heading to Mandalore, he comes up with a new path to make things the way he wants them to be. So that's the caveat, just to make this make more sense. And yeah, let's get into it right now. As Sidious stood over Maul, his former apprentice, defeated and begging for mercy on Mandalore, Sidious knew he was going to win this battle, but he hadn't realized just how impactful this victory could be. And as he stood there, he realized he defeated Maul, the wielder of the Darksaber, in single combat. Now Sidious knew the history of this saber, he knew about Tar Vizsla, how it was stolen from the temple, and he knew the power that this saber held. And as Sidious stood there thinking about the saber, he heard Maul annoyingly begging for mercy in the background. "There is no mercy," he declared, and shocked Maul with one hand while bringing the Darksaber to his other. "Perhaps a new plan to rule has called to me," Sidious thought. And of course, Sidious at this time was afraid that Order 66 was going to fail. The clones had gone so far and beyond their personalities and their connections with the Jedi leaders, that Order 66 wouldn't be that effective on the clones like Sidious had prepared. Now, of course, I know this is probably impossible, but it's how we're making the story work. And Sidious then stopped electrocuting Maul. He's clearly learned his place underneath him, Sidious thought. And then he told him, "I'm not going to kill you. I have other uses for you. Tell me, Maul, how loyal are these Mandalorians to the Saber?" And Maul told Sidious all about how the Mandalorians and the Death Watch cult were loyal to him solely because he held the saber. And if Sidious used it, then Mandalore could rise up to power once again under his leadership. Good. My plans with the war are not going as I hoped. The clones and the pathetic Jedi are exhausting their resources, but they're slowly defeating the Separatists faster than I could predict. But now, Sidious was thinking out loud, now if I leave the Republic and lead Mandalore solely as Sidious, then the war will turn. They will be left without their Chancellor, and I can ignite the spirit in these Mandalorians to hate their Jedi, as their ancestors once did. And you, Maul, will help lead my war effort in exchange for the destruction of the Jedi, the destruction of Kenobi, or you will die. Maul laid there, still saddened about Savage and weak from the lightning. His options were limited, but joining this new side in the war could have power over the Jedi. He could kill the Jedi, could kill Kenobi. "Yes, my lord," Maul said, knowing he truly did not have much choice at all. "Good," Sidious said. "Recall your forces immediately. These pitiful Mandalorians can't help but kill each other, but I will give them all a common enemy." Maul recalled the forces of Death Watch back to the palace. The Death Watch group was not nearly large enough to take on the Republic head-on, but these soldiers were more skilled than clones, and Mandalore was ripe with people impatient with the peaceful ways of Duchess Satine. With some simple convincing, the Mandalorians would be able to begin training for war with little hesitation. It was in their blood, Sidious thought. Once Death Watch was finally back at the palace, another meeting for the whole civilized city to see was broadcasted. A robed figure walked to the edge of the railing of the palace, preparing to speak to Mandalore. And Sidious spoke, giving a speech, this mysterious man, trying to unite Mandalore. "People of Mandalore, I am the enemy of your enemy, and I have come to expose the truth of the Jedi and the Republic to you." Murmurs and gasping throughout the crowd began to get louder, and Sidious spoke again. Your former ruler, Duchess Satine, was conspiring with them. She made a deal years ago to weaken Mandalore by removing its warrior ways, because she was conspiring with the Jedi. She manipulated you all into becoming a pacifist group rather than embracing what is in your blood. This is a warrior's planet, and the Jedi have been your enemy for hundreds of generations. They destroyed this planet for your ancestors, and now is the time for Mandalore to have their revenge. The Republic and Jedi are weaker than ever before. Their Chancellor is gone, and the Jedi are in disarray. With the help of Death Watch, Mandalore will begin training warriors to take out the Jedi and make the ancestors proud. The crowd began to erupt in cheers and hope, knowing that this was the right path. Sidious spoke for a bit longer, continuing to manipulate the Mandalorian people into thinking Satine was conspiring with the Jedi. It ended with thunderous applause. Mandalore was ready and willing to go to war with the Jedi again, under the leadership of this new man who held up the Darksaber, claiming his spot as the ruler of Mandalore. On the other side of the galaxy now, the Republic was reeling after they thought they had the upper hand in the war. But now Kenobi had escaped Mandalore, and as he was giving his report to the Council, rumors began to swirl that the Chancellor was missing. He hadn't informed anyone of where he was going, and now days had passed since his disappearance. The Republic, without its leader, had to pull its forces back. They were losing a few key battles in all of the disarray. Perhaps it's time the Jedi step up and lead this war, Mace Windu said at a recent council meeting. There is no time to wait for a new leader to step up in the Senate. It must be us. The council stood there shocked and bewildered, unsure of what path to take. Yoda spoke up. A dangerous path this is. Go to the Senate to call an emergency meeting. We will. And a handful of Jedi Council members went to a Senate meeting, led by Windu and Yoda. They planned to take over the Republic just until the war could be ended, and the Senate complied. They understood the dire position they were in, and the Jedi stepping in to lead gave the Republic allies hope. The Republic allies that, with the disappearance of the Chancellor, were thinking of leaving, thinking of joining the Separatists, or becoming neutral. But with word that the powerful Jedi planned to lead, they stayed for now. There were some senators who were upset by this, namely Padme Amidala, but overall, the Senate was willing to comply until either the Chancellor was found or the war had ended. On the Separatists' side of things, Dooku and the other Separatists were informed of what had happened on Mandalore. Dooku was shocked at this decision from Sidious, but he did not disapprove. Sidious had seemed more and more unsure of his plans, but now he seemed more powerful and ready than ever. His Separatist army was secretly teaming up with a growing army of this legendary Mandalorian group, and to Dooku, this was a wonderful scenario. With Sidious in charge of the Mandalorians, and Dooku in charge of the Separatists, the training for Death Watch and the remaining Mandalorians was quick. Death Watch plus the many guards of Mandalore already made up a small army that was ready to cause havoc and train all the other Mandalorians willing and wanting to fight. This was a very large group, and over the next several months of the war, Mandalorians would strategically interfere in battles between the Separatists and Republic, with their only intention being the assassination of the Jedi commanders. These guerrilla warfare type of tactics were successful in keeping the allegiances largely hidden while taking out many Jedi. The Mandalorians were stealthy, quick, and they tried not to give away what their plans were. But eventually the Jedi, of course, would realize what was happening on Mandalore, and they called an emergency council meeting. The attention was on Kenobi, the night he left Mandalore. It was asked by Windu, Kenobi, the night you left Mandalore, describe what had happened. How were you able to escape so easily? Kenobi responded, I was running away with the help of a few Mandalorians who did not trust Maul. It was clear Maul had taken over, and I could feel the dark presence grow stronger in the moments before I left. but perhaps it was not just Maul who was there. Mace spoke up again. "We have reason to believe the Sith have taken over Mandalore and convinced them to go to war with the Jedi. The same way we fought each other all those years ago, before the fall of the Old Republic. If this is true and Windu was cut off..." A clone spoke through the emergency channel. "Generals, sorry to interrupt, but Kamino is under attack. The Separatists look like they're attempting to end this war right here. We can only hold them off for so long with the troops we have here," the clone said before ending. The council looked at each other and Windu spoke up again. "Kenobi, go now with Skywalker and his Padawan. We will be sending you all the clone reinforcements we can, but for now you must hold them off with the resources on Kamino." And on Mandalore, Sidious spoke with Dooku, who was orchestrating this attack. "Excellent distraction, my apprentice," Sidious told Dooku. "My Mandalorian army is ready to move on the Jedi Temple, with their Jedi numbers decreased, and their annoying clone soldiers occupied on Kamino. You do not have to defeat the whole army there. Just focus on bombing the cloning facilities and capturing or killing the Kaminoans." "It will be done, my lord," Dooku told him before ending the transmission. Sidious walked out to the ledge of the palace and looked to the ground. It was littered with soldiers wearing Beskar armor, just itching to take on the Jedi Temple by surprise. The soldiers equipped with jetpacks, cables, flamethrowers, any weapon necessary to defeat the Jedi. They were ready. And they were to take off, taking the Council, taking the Jedi Temple by complete surprise. And as the Jedi were preparing to end their meeting and send more reinforcements to Kamino, a crash was felt throughout the temple and alarms began blaring. The Council looked at each other. Another crash, then another. 3 ships had suddenly crashed into the Jedi Temple, and all the members of the Council prepared to rush down to the main area, when Yoda started to grab his head. He looked out the Council window to see a ship he recognized. The Chancellor's ship, headed straight for the Council chambers. "Go now!" Yoda exclaimed, but only a few members made it out the door before the ship crashed into the chambers, and a robed figure leapt down to the 4 remaining Jedi in the Council. Yoda, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Shaak-Ti. They couldn't make it out in time and now stood facing the Sith. Windu and a few of the others made it out, but Yoda watched Kit Fisto and Asian Kolar be crushed underneath the ship that crashed into the window. "I have waited a long time for this, my Jedi friends." The hooded figure held a red blade and a black Mandalorian blade, as he revealed under his hood. "Palpatine," Yoda gasped, and without another word, Sidious dashed at Ki-Adi-Mundi and sliced him in half before anyone could even react. Then he threw Shaak-Ti and Yoda against the wall. Kit Fisto managed to clash sabers for a bit, but he was no match to a dual-wielding Sidious. Sidious cut off his sabered hand and grabbed him with the electricity, quickly burning him to near death before chucking him out the window to his certain death. Yoda got up from the wall. Him and Shaak-Ti then charged Sidious together. Sidious fought them gracefully, one saber focused on each Jedi, and then he used his right hand with his red saber to hold Shaak-Ti in the air, taunting Yoda with her as the two continued to fight. Yoda did begin to get the upper hand while fighting a one-handed Sidious, so, to counter, he simply broke Shaak-Ti's neck and used both sabers once again on Yoda. And after a lengthy acrobatic duel, Sidious perfectly predicted a Yoda flip, and he cut him in half vertically. Just like that, the Grand Master was dead. In the main area of the temple, Windu leapt down from the Council to a disaster. Mandalorians flying all throughout the temple, killing unsuspecting or injured Jedi from the 3 ships that had crashed into the temple. The 3 ships were loaded with Mandalorians, ready to fight, flying out immediately of their jetpacks and striking down unsuspecting Jedi. A few Mandalorians were dead on the ground, but many more Jedi scattered throughout. Mace looked around, looking for a fellow master, and spotted Sazy Tin. Before he could go to fight alongside him, though, a red blade went through the back of Tin, as he fell dead. There above him stood Darth Maul. Windu was in the midst of the greatest Jedi tragedy he thought possible, but he'd never been more focused, as he and Maul approached each other. Windu using the Force to harness his V-pad to combat Maul, he began clashing sabers with the Sith assassin. He'd been a thorn in the Jedi's side since even before the war, and Windu had him. Windu was going to end him. And after a rather quick fight of the two dueling, Maul was disarmed, and Windu went to strike him down. But as he did, a blast of Sith lightning engulfed him. Writhing in pain, Sidious came up behind Windu and cut his head off. Sidious was not messing around. He was not here to do anything but destroy the Jedi, and he did this. And now Sidious, Maul, and the many Mandalorians continued throughout the temple. Any Jedi found were killed as quickly as possible, and every room was bombed or lit on fire. Sidious had no interest in taking over the temple. Instead, it would be destroyed once and for all. Once the Jedi were all either killed or scattered into the city, bombs were planted in what remained of the temple, and the group of Sidious, Maul, and the Mandalorians boarded the ships that came down to pick them up. And once out of range, the temple was blown up, all of it crumbling to the ground to cover the bodies of the Jedi inside. Sidious had won. The Sith had won with the help of the Mandalorians. The Jedi were no more. But still, Sidious hadn't seen the Jedi he once carved his whole plan around. Of course, the Jedi sent Skywalker to Kamino, he thought. Once he boarded his ship, he called Dooku for an update. Dooku, update me on the Kaminoan assault. Have you captured or killed them all? Sidious asked. Yes, Master. We put all our attention into getting rid of the Kaminoans for good. The cloning process will be halted or stopped completely without them. We did see some resistance from Skywalker and Kenobi, but we retreated immediately once our objective was complete. The clones will be no more. Good, responded Sidious. I do suspect those two will be a problem, but for another time. And the call ended suddenly. Now to Anakin, Kenobi, and Ahsoka. After the battle on Kamino, with the Separatists retreating suddenly after killing the Kaminoans, they had returned to Coruscant. They'd feared the worst after the shift they'd felt in the Force, and they even heard the news on the Newsnet that the temple was destroyed. But they still couldn't believe the damage until they'd officially arrived back on Coruscant. The temple wasn't just broken, it was gone. How? Was all Anakin could say, and Obi-Wan knew. The Sith teamed up with the Mandalorians. We were truly doomed from the moment it happened. We must hide. They will be coming for us. I agree. But there's someone we need to bring with us. Anakin landed their ship outside of Padme's apartment. Neither Kenobi nor Ahsoka were surprised by this, nor did they object. Padme was brought onto the ship and the 4 Jedi took off. The Jedi were gone for now. The Senate could take over the clone army, but the Jedi trio of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka planned to start their own system, their own refuge for decommissioned or disillusioned clones. In the meantime, the Separatists/Mandalorian rulers took over the galaxy. Sidious was the looming figurehead above it all. He was in secret, as Maul became the ruler of Mandalore, and Dooku was the ruler of a new government. A new empire. That's where I'm going to be ending this today. I like this one. It was, I think, pretty crazy, pretty out there. Teaming up with the Mandalorians and destroying the entire temple. Hey, why not? I had fun with it. I know it's kind of crazy. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear it. Love to talk with you in the comments. I do have big plans for this channel in the future. Eventually it'll get to a point where these are edited and sound much crisper. That's with the help of all of you. If you can subscribe, leave a like, and comment, help this channel grow. There will be a time where I'm streaming, where I'm doing fan fictions, great editing. That day will come, I promise you, if this channel continues to grow. So if you could please help me out with that, that would be outstanding. I really love what I'm doing here. It's a lot of fun. All of you have been outstanding to talk to and to make videos for. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you truly. I'll see you in the next video.